Okay, I think it's working. Hello, everybody. We just kind of threw this together quickly, and I'm hoping the audio will work because we put some videos together today. We have Marcus over, and Marcus loves to play, of course, with our puppies. That's one of our puppies, and little Marcus under there that everybody thinks is going to. He won't even let his mom near him. I'm really hoping that this video or this audio comes out. This is really one of my favorites. Actually, and I don't know why.
If you don't mind pausing that for a second, Rick, under your sharing settings, there are options. There's a checkbox that says optimize for shared video and share computer sound, and you want to make sure those are both checked.
Under my sharing options. Okay.
Well, if you don't see them, you can just stop screen sharing and then share again, and you'll see the options on the sharing screen. Otherwise, I think it's under the More button.
Share sound?
You want to share computer sound, but there's also an option to optimize for sharing video. You should see two checkboxes on the sharing screen.
Is that
it? Zoom doesn't share Zoom windows. I can't see your Zoom windows. No, you didn't change anything. So stop your share, stop screen share. Just, click on stop share. Now click on share again. But before you share your screen, look down at the bottom of the sharing options and you should see a couple of checkboxes there.
They seem to both be clicked.
Did you see the options for?
I did.
Okay.
There we go.
There it is.
All right, let me see if I can get back to that previous video.
And maybe while you get set up, Rick, I'll just give a quick introduction to the Bionics meetings in general. We do these once a month. This is typically the first monthly e-NABLE event that we do. We are hosting Rick Williams' presentation today, which is pretty exciting. He's been involved the last few months with several different e-NABLE initiatives, and maybe I can pass it to you, Rick, to do a quick introduction before you start your presentation of.
All right.
That's an introduction.
Okay. I don't know where I am, but I'm doing my best, guys. I'm so sorry. This is actually a video that I really like. It's one that I have on my site. Somebody shared with me. Every one of these people is an amputee, and I always like to put some uplifting.
Yes, I can. Suddenly, yes, I can.
Things on the site.
Gee, I'm afraid to go on has turned into. Yes,
actually, just trying to show you guys as well, but I'm not having any luck.
Yes, I can. Take a look. What do you see? 133 pounds of confidence.
Anyway, that isn't working very well. However, guys, are you still there?
We are here, Rick.
Got the feeling I can do anything. Yes, I can. Something that sings in my.
Well, so far it's been an amazing presentation. How did you like it?
Everyone is telling me, yes, I can.
All right, I'm going to move forward here because I can't see you guys, and I can't even tell if you're still here.
We are still here.
We can hear what you're saying.
Today I can go all the way, yes. I can. Yes, 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 I can. Hey, yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can! Are you ready? I can climb Everest. Yes, I can. I can fight here all night and never rest. Yes, I can. I was just born today. I can go all the way. Yes! I can.
Is everyone still there?
We're here.
Still there. Now, who
Did you see
who
any of
made-
that?
Yeah, we did. Now, who made that? What was that from?
I don't know. Somebody shared that with me, and I thought they did such an amazing job that whenever I get the opportunity, I share it because I think it's so uplifting. And
Let's be sure
I
to
tried to go
share-
back and find who sent it to me. I
Let's
used
be
it
sure to
during
share the YouTube link if that's on YouTube along with this presentation, because I'd like people to be able to see the full quality version of that.
Yeah, it's not on YouTube that I know of, but I don't really have the rights to it, but I can share it with you guys and maybe we can figure out who did that.
Yeah, I definitely.
But
like
I
to-
love it. I
Yeah.
show it every opportunity I get because I think it's an amazing video. What I wanted to go into a little bit with you guys is just some of the things that you all have been involved in, we've been involved in. We tend to say that, quite frankly, that no matter how silly something works, if it works, it's not stupid. It's just a good idea. We've done, of course, some crazy things just as you have. And once again, we try to keep it uplifting for all the kids because, you know, this is a big deal to them. I was asked earlier, you know, when did I get involved in e-NABLE and when did I start doing this? I had a near amputation on my hand. And I was told it would never work again. And it was my left hand. I play 13 instruments, so I was kind of heartbroken.
Oh.
And because of some of the devices on e-NABLE, I kind of fooled the doctors and it's kind of working again. So for me, this was very personal. And also I just love helping and doing the things for the kids. This is a video of when they reattached my hand. And I want to fast forward a little bit. 'Cause somebody asked me about these instruments and how they work. I'm just fast forwarding it a little. This was one of my first ones. It was a shovel.
Because I can't, you know, do a 6
And basically from Ace Hardware.
Rick, if you don't mind, on the video player there, if you click on the progress bar, click on the volume icon and turn the video volume down.
I'm sorry, click on what?
You just had it. Click on the volume icon there, over to the
Okay,
right.
sorry.
Click on the volume and just turn the video volume down. That way we can hear you. We don't need to hear the video so loud.
Okay. But this was basically a shovel. And one of the things we did was we were getting involved with a lot of the amputee groups themselves. One of their biggest complaints is they couldn't get involved in music, and they really wanted to be. They wanted to play. But they've always been told, no, that's just not something you can do because you have to have fingers, you have to have hands. But because of Ace Hardware and some of the things that you can get involved in, this kind of worked. We built some kind of wild devices here. The one that I've got over here was Marcus, and this was one of his first. As you can see, that's an e-NABLE hand, but you can also see that little appendage that's on the outside that basically talks to the computer. It's a BLE Midi device that we hung on there, and we are able to connect him directly to the computer and allow him to use whatever facilities he had available to play.
Okay.
Rick, I'm sorry to be a pest. Do you mind turning that video volume down a little more so we can hear you?
Now, when you do it, you flip it this way.
How's that?
There you go.
A little more. We don't need the video to be that loud.
Perfect.
Just bring it all the way down so it's just a little bit.
Let's see here. No, I can't hear it very well, so that's okay. You let me know.
Okay.
So this basically was an interface that allowed Marcus to communicate with some specialized software that we had put together for him. And it allows him basically to communicate with BLE with the computer. And he has his entire band. He can play, he can switch to whichever instrument he likes. He can play guitars, he can play cellos, he can play whatever he really wants to. And this was kind of one of the big, I know it looks kind of bulky and silly, but it, once again, it's not stupid if it works. We've also hooked him into things like this that are virtual instruments. And we build these virtual instruments for people who have either no limbs or have lost limbs. Marcus seems to do extremely well with things with buttons on them. He's very good with buttons. He's very good with screens, and we've noticed that a lot with some of the kids that are missing limbs, or especially ones with infant limb syndrome. So we've reconfigured a lot of these instruments in a way that he can work with them. And not only do they do chord progressions, but they also teach them an awful lot of music theory. I hope you guys are still with me.
I'll grow my hair like, why? Do you think I look silly?
We are
One of
still
the
here.
first one of the first ones we designed was a Midi drum set. The beauty of Midi is that it's an older protocol. It's been around, what, almost 60 some plus years. And rather than just code and something that flips switches in a computer and gives an on or off position, Midi gives you a great deal of flexibility. You can have you can kind of be between this note and that note. You have slides, you have all these things, which really Midi lends itself to quite well, even with hands and even with, of course, instruments. The beauty is, because it's a protocol, it's something that you can integrate into almost anything. We've used it with Adrenos, with Raspberries, and probably one of our favorites is microbits. Microbit mostly because there's so much technology on such a small chip. But as you can see how depressed he is there, you know, he theoretically could drive over 4,000 external devices with his little drum set.
Marcus, how old are you?
Over here, what we've done is we just kind of did a little, his mom was actually doing kind of a little interview with him just to see how he liked it and what he could do with it. And this was like when he first got it. We were setting it up to where basically he could come to over here and we would plug him into our gigantic MIDI stacks. We have synthesizers, rooms full of synthesizers, and he was able to create his own sounds. He was able to plug into them. Not only that, one of the arms that we built for him was MIDI, and it allowed him to just plug his arm right into the synthesizer stack and communicate with it, which was kind of where we wanted to be. This was an early, a very early MIDI interface that was wireless. Now, the reason we did this one was we had a young lady who had had a stroke, and she basically could operate her hand a little, but she didn't have any grasp, she didn't have any grip, she didn't have anything of that nature. So we amplified, what we wanted to do was amplify her motions and movements to an external hand. I'm just bouncing forward a little, but as you can see, this one's large and clumsy. But what we did is we used the MIDI protocol, as you can see, to get these fine motor movements. This thing mirrors anything your hand does. So if my finger moves, its finger moves. And it moves by about approximately the same amount that I would move it by, except we can turn up an amplifier and say, if you move beyond this threshold, the grip will get tighter. So that allowed her to actually use the hand for things other than just waving and doing gestures. It actually worked out quite well. We built this, I think it cost us about 50 bucks in components. As you can see, it maps my wrist, it maps the azimuth, it maps the finger movements, pretty much everything. We have a smaller version of the glove that didn't require hard pots. We actually used tape, the tape that it's resistance tape. And as you bend it, it changes resistance, which made this work much better.
Basically, it's all going to be done from these boards that are behind here.
Just to give you an idea, I just kind of put these up. I know the audio isn't as important, but as you can see, what we do is we specially build these guitars, we specially build these instruments. The one on the bottom right is probably one of my favorites. What you see in the center of that is a dog bowl. We take dog bowls and we turn them upside down and use them as resonators. So the dog bowl actually steals the sound from the strings. We specifically tune the guitar in a special way, so if you have no fingers, like the guy on the top right, that's just okay. You can use barcodes. We have very specific, special types of devices we've built. As you can see on her fingers, she has those little ceramic tubes she plays with. And that flat thing, actually, we experimented with putting it on her nub so she could play barcodes with that. And she does very, very well with it, incredibly well. Marcus up on the top there, he's using the motion that gives him total motion control of all the instruments. We actually built a Midi Theremin for people that have very little limb capability. And if you all remember what a theremin was, it actually looks at your movements in your body and your gesture, and you can convert those into MIDI sounds, and you can actually make almost, I believe, 6 octaves is as high as we've gone on the MIDI scale. This is a guitar that we were testing out actually today. The wife did this video for me. This was kind of show you how we're taking the MIDI. This is made out of a cigar box, actually. The cigar box is actually super cheap to build. And as you can see, it's only a 4-string. It is tuned as the GDGB, which allows any of our amputees to do bars on it and still be able to play. And then they can dial in the instrument of their choice. We just dialed in a cello. I said, I'd like to be a cello right now. If you like whatever instrument you like, you dial it in, and that's what it does. What you're looking at has no real power. Everything you see here is running on AA batteries, including the amplifier. There's no energy consumption per se. The amplifier uses 6 AA's. It's nothing but a very simple off-the-shelf amp. Everything else is, for the most part, super simple. But it sounds like a very big guitar. Top right is one we built that has 5 MIDI engines on it and a built-in iPhone. The iPhone was for its brains. It uses the iPhone to generate all of its harmonics, all of the different amplifier types. It does IRs. Some of the other MIDI controllers hooked to our big MIDI stacks. This one we actually designed very specially for a guy who was a professional guitar player, got his arms blown off in Afghanistan. And so we built this for him because he wanted to play again. And with this, he could. He was fully able to play. And he wants, quite frankly, with the MIDIs stacked behind him, once again, he could do almost 4,096 separate instruments he could have plugged in at any given time. Down here was another one we built out of a PRS. This is a wireless MIDI brain. And this allows the end user to play one-handed for people that only have one arm. And the way it works is we actually take each fret up the neck and we solder copper tape to each fret on each side of the neck. And we hook it to this brain. This brain then converts the motion of the strings into MIDI, transmits that wirelessly to a computer, and then you are the instrument of your choice once again. And it works beautifully. It's an awesome, awesome device. Works beautifully, sounds great. Marcus this morning, we had him hooked up. We just rebuilt his iPad so we could plug him in. He wanted to be a cello today. That was his choice. he also wanted to do his mosh pit Marcus and do his rock and roll.
We could, you know.
So this was just us. We usually have typically a Tuesday jam session where he comes over and we hook him into yet another machine. Poor Marcus, we're always doing something to him, but he seems to enjoy it. This particular one is a wireless Ble controller that we modded, and it allows us to change octaves, change instruments, change just about anything through wireless Ble, which is almost no power whatsoever. And then that goes to the Ble Bluetooth connection to his little iPad we built for him there. You guys are all familiar with the Mayos. This is just yet another illustration for people that don't know how they work. I know you guys all do. I'm not to insult your intelligence. It's just kind of a demonstration we use for the kids to show them this doesn't hurt. It's not painful, and it allows us to key on, as you can see there, quite a few notes if we chose just with one Mayo.
Bionics.
Because we can actually run almost a full chromatic scale with one Mayo. Now, we can then take multiple Mayos and put them on multiple muscle groups, and we can then gain much more range of motion and many more notes than we were capable of with just one. Theoretically, we've hooked them to feet, we've hooked them to ankles for people who didn't have arms, we've hooked them to people's necks and allowed them to, between this and the Theremin technology, they were able to play beautifully. We have one that's doing Beethoven.
Okay, we're testing.
Synthesizers have been around, of course, for a large number of years. We have a lot of synths here in the house. We're moving an awful lot towards virtual synthesizers and virtual instruments. The reason being is it's cheap. For what we would pay for one very small synthesizer, we could probably develop or implement easily 100 or 1,000 virtual instruments. So the virtual instruments they're repeatable. They don't cost anything but your time after you buy the proper APIs and development environment, and they sound absolutely amazing. If it says it's a Moog, it's a Moog. If it says it's a Natura, it's a Natura. It sounds great. They're just super, and we get a lot of mileage out of it because we have no budget. So anything we can do off the shelf or cheap or develop ourselves, we go ahead and do that. We'll oftentimes have the kids over. We set the synthesizers up. This is kind of our skeletal unit, and it allows them to play and design their own synthesizers. They can design their own notes. They can design their own IRs. They can design their own amplifiers. It gives them the ability to learn quite a bit about music theory and develop their ear. One of the things we found out even with Marcus is we didn't know it, but he has a beautiful singing voice. And we've been trying to bring that forward. He's a little shy, but he's coming along. This is basically one that we did for one of the amputees. We used the sound that he built and put together this short little demo. This was his design, and he did beautifully well. He wrote it himself. Anyway, I'm trying to see you guys to see if anybody's frowning. Let's see here. Where's my Zoom?
We're here, and I don't think we're frowning.
You're on it, Rick. When you share your screen for video sharing, Rick, it hides your video panel by default.
I see. Okay.
I
don't really use Zoom very much, guys, so my apologies for being very slow with this.
Under the More menu there on Zoom, I think there's an option to show video panel if you want to see it.
The More under Zoom.
Yeah, it's all the way over to the right on the Zoom bar.
All the way over to the right.
See where it says More?
My other north?
No, your Zoom toolbar. Far
Gotcha.
right.
Sorry.
More. There you go. And then show video panel.
Oh, there you guys are. All right. So I can tell if you're making faces at me. Exactly. So what we also did, just for you guys, is we have other photos, other pictures. One of my favorite things to do is to show sometimes the instruments, but also what's possible. This is not something I did. Somebody else did this. This was actually from animatronics. All of this is MIDI, all of it. And none of these instruments exist. They're all completely virtualized. And this is what we are trying to give to the amputees. And I have to be honest, the people that have it love it. It's just become part of something they do. And in my mind, if you can take an instrument, whatever that instrument may be, and you can give access to that instrument and allow them to play it with the same code that theoretically you're driving a bionic hand, arm, or any other appliance or appendage with, I'm having a problem seeing the downside. It's not that difficult. And the kids love it. They're remarkably involved. They're remarkably open. And it gives them something. This eliminates bullying. It's just has done a lot for us. It's also something what we have done is we've contacted a lot of. We have actually contacted quite a few professional musicians, and we had one. There's a story. It's too long to tell you guys. I bore you to death, but. They'll sign the arms, and they also love the kids' music. So whenever I find a hero, one of the kids' heroes, I try to track them down and show them what the kid can do. We've actually had quite a few that have written back, sent them CDs, posters, and they've signed, and we actually make 3D. We actually have made 3D arms where we put that person's picture in the arm, and it's just worked out very well. This was one in particular, Abigail, from a band called
Look what we got.
Liliac.
Rick, turn down the volume a little bit while you're switching.
Upper part of his new arm.
And the way this worked
change the
was the
process.
band Liliac was one of his absolute heroes. She was a drummer for Liliac. And he said, I just love her. So I made this, and this, you guys all recognize this as part of one of the arms. And I put her photo that she gave me, and I put her signature that she gave me on his arm. I guaranteed her this was a one-off. We'd never make two. And there it is. And it just looked awesome. And he points to it and he goes, this is my friend Abigail. All these guitars were built here. We built some crazy ones. That's a 20 string on the right. But all these instruments, I think, make them happy. I don't think it's a replacement. I think it's an augmentation.
Well, it's fantastic. You can keep, I've got plenty of questions, but you can show us anything more you want to show.
I have just some photos that I'll be happy to share with you. All of these are basically some of the instruments to show what stupid things we've built them out of when we don't have any money. This one was one of my favorites. This is a synthesizer made out of a tennis racket. We didn't have any money. And this synthesizer was awesome. This thing sounded so amazing that you guys would have just probably been stunned. It made me laugh anyway. And if we run out of money, this is what we do. We'll find some crazy thing and we'll make an instrument out of it. And every one of these has, in some way or form, made somebody laugh or made them happy. The one I was looking for, let's see here. This one was made out of a pallet that we found out in the yard, and we made this one out of a pallet. That's the ones that's on the right is the tennis racket. This one's a shovel. That's the shovel you saw me play when I was damaged. But we make them out of hubcaps. We've made them out of anything we find laying around in the garage. Some of them are works of art. Some of them are incredibly ugly. and it's okay, because oftentimes the ugly ones are the ones the kids want because they're hilarious. So we just put together what we can, and we go from there. Any questions, fellas? I'd be happy to answer anything that I can for you.
Great.
I know it was relatively short, but I think Ben told me 15 minutes and I've already gone over that.
No, that's okay. That's great. You know, yeah, Jeremy understands MIDI and all of this, but I sort of want to fill in some of the gaps. So I'm gonna I want to ask you a series of questions just sort of to set the stage for this.
No problem.
So,
I'll answer if I can.
you've been doing this for how long? I gather you started when you had some trouble with your own hand.
Yes.
How long ago was that?
About 6 years ago is when I started, and I
Okay.
had basically an amputation. And the doctor said it's just got to go, and the wife wouldn't let him take it, my hand, and she wouldn't. And he said, well, you understand the fingers aren't going to work, the thumb's not, it's just going to hang there if we don't have to take it off later. They said the expedient thing to do would just be to take it. She said no. They stitched it back on, and they tried at the time, it was probably, it's not new now, but at the time they put my nerves in what was called collagen sheaths, because the nerves were cut too far apart to grow back. There's a number of centimeters that a nerve will not reconnect. Plus all the tendons went up into my arm all the way up to my shoulder. They just snapped like rubber bands, basically. Well, 2 of my fingers got reversed. So when I was mad at somebody, I went like this, you know, and that was the only real thing. I don't have feeling. So you see me stumble, but I still play. So to me, that was the worst thing about losing a limb, was the instruments. I played at the time 13 instruments, and I'm back to 13 again.
Wow. Okay. So 6 years ago, you had this injury. Your wife saved your hand. Your hand is intact, although 2 fingers are still reversed, right?
Yeah, these 2.
Meaning what? Anatomically reversed, or
Well,
that when you try to do this, you actually do this?
Yeah, the second one. So the middle one is the index. The index is the middle, because it's not the surgeon's fault. He did the best he could, you know. And I was just pleased that he got my thumb back, because that would have been awful if I hadn't had the thumb. As you guys know, you know, that's kind of your, you know, that you really need that. So
then you got involved with e-NABLE. I thought I heard you say that you were wearing e-NABLE devices yourself at one point. Is that true or no?
There is a hand that I found on e-NABLE, and that particular hand, all it did, it was an exoskeleton. So day and night, this thing just worked my hand and worked my hand and worked my hand, because I couldn't do the physical therapy. It was too painful. And this thing just wouldn't stop. It ran all day, it ran all night. And it worked my every finger, it worked my thumb, it worked the hand. And it was a horrific looking thing. I don't care, you know, it worked. And the only thing I'm missing now, you know, there's no feeling in the back here. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't really use that anyway, but.
Okay, so first of all, I'm not familiar, you know, Ben is going to end up writing an article about this story. So I'm going to fill in some gaps that I know you have. I'm not familiar with the motorized exoskeleton you're talking about. It sounds like you found it through e-NABLE, and it has done you some good. So it would be great if you could dig that up and give us a link.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I believe it's still there. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to move forward. So then you started making devices for other people.
Yes.
Who are all these people?
What was interesting is when I started doing this, we originally started working with Marcus a lot, but we were also working with doing design work, because I had a lot of CAD background. And the CAD was something I enjoyed, and we were just doing it because people would ask us, would you make this for us? And we were happy to do that. It wasn't always e-NABLE. Sometimes it was just
Sure.
somebody that needed a design, and we were happy to do it. I went back to e-NABLE, and I started finding a lot of your stuff on Thingy Universe.
Thingiverse.
And I just started seeing devices that made sense, and I wanted to build them. And then we gave them away. Marcus, we've been working with him since he's 3. And we have done many arms for him. And
So
many
how did you
instruments.
find Marcus and these other people? Or how did they find
Surgeons
you?
were sending them to us. Yeah, we actually had the surgeon who fixed my hand. He was like, there's just no way this works. And they brought me in and they ran all these tests because he quite frankly thought that I was just over optimistic, is what his words. And I go, no, it works. It really works. And so they ran all these tests, and I went from not even be able to move, that just hung there, to now over 70 pounds with it. I'm up to. And after he saw that, he started sending us people to help. We had one young kid, he had just, his wife, and he had a baby. She had bought him this beautiful titanium wedding ring. And he worked in a paper factory. I think you know where I'm going. And the titanium ring got stuck in a machine, and it gloved his hand, and it ripped the finger completely off. Well, because of the insurance that the company had, of course, they went, you're aware of that, of the, I always forget the name of it. It's a really cool looking hand that they give you, and it works fairly well. What they don't tell you is they charge you like $100 or $200 a month for maintenance fee, even if you get the thing free. And he couldn't afford that. And he was horrified of it. He said, this thing's all metal. If this thing gets stuck in the machine, it's going to rip my whole arm off. So we made him a set of Nix fingers. And then we made it with breakaways. So, you know, if he was concerned that for some reason this finger got stuck in something, we set a poundage that he was comfortable with. And we used a fish scale, and we made it to where if it hit that poundage, it snapped away. And it made him feel better.
Okay.
I mean, I get it. I mean, I get it. If it makes you set, you know,
Sure.
if you're unhappy, it's no good. So he's still wearing it, and he has to deal with very small parts he has to pick up at his job. Works fine. Works just beautiful. He's had it for forever. And the other thing we do is, if they are interested, we train the family. We train the family. We give them a toolbox full of spare parts. So, you know, we go down to Ace Hardware, we buy a little toolbox. We fill it with spare parts. We teach the parents and the kid, if they're old enough, how to do their own repairs. And in some cases, we teach them how to 3D print so they can 3D print their own parts. And our goal is, if we do our job right, they never have to see us again. They always do. They always come and visit, you know, and that's okay. You know, but we train them very well. Becca is Marcus's mother. She has no hand. She has no hands. And the one with the guitar we made for her, I believe Jeremy put her video up not long ago, I believe. And she came to us because she has no hands and no feet, and it's Marcus's mother. She wanted to be, aspired to be a professional scuba diver. So we built her special everything. We built her special fins. We built her special tools to work underwater. We even built her an underwater nail gun, pneumatic nail gun. And now she's their #1 diver. She's a professional scuba diver. She's their #1.
All right.
And she's great. She's great.
You have 100 great stories. But I want to just finish getting the whole story. So then at some point, you realized that you could use MIDI interfaces to empower people who'd lost manual dexterity to still control thousands of instruments. And a MIDI interface, as I understand it, can pick up on switches and also the vibrations that come from a vibrating string, capture that information, and then it's specifically intended to drive all of these digital synthetic instruments. Yes?
You've got it. You're exactly on the money. Yes.
Okay. So you're not using it as a arm to hand protocol. You're using it as an arm to digital orchestra protocol.
No, we're doing both. It
So-
really makes no sense not to. You can have a much more control over a servo or a stepper with MIDI because there's kind of points. When you're dealing with a servo, you
Got
say,
it.
I want you to set at 180 or I want you to set at 240. And that's right where it goes. MIDI can even be touch sensitive. Where not, for instance, there's MIDI devices on horns that you blow in, for instance. I'm using that as an example. Think of a MIDI clarinet. It actually monitors your breath and how hard you're blowing. And it can do all those flutters and all those things that you could never do with a on-off switch.
So that's great. So is it sensible for me to think of MIDI as, there are inputs that come from sensor devices, and there are outputs that can go, I now realize, not just to digital instruments, but to anything, including servos, and you can configure both sides.
Yes. And there's so many in-betweens. Because when you're using servos or steppers, you know very well that you set it to something and it'll go till it breaks or something interrupts it. With MIDI, that's just not true. MIDI will go until you change your mind. So you can interrupt it at any given time. And quite frankly, because it's not a program, it's a protocol, it's two-way. Whereas when typically you're dealing with standard servos or something of that nature with standard Arduino code, you're really doing one way. And you could be interrupted by a switch, which basically is like a panic or kill switch. MIDI's not like that. It's designed to be interrupted. It's designed to be stopped. It's designed to be kind of. So it's kind of between an A and an A sharp somewhere. And you could actually set that down to like 1/3000th,
I hear you.
somewhere in between. So you have all this two-way communication going on. My job before I retired was in the computer industry, and the computers are so on-off oriented. That's what they know. It's what they do. MIDI's a little different because it's people oriented. It was designed for people. It was designed for people to communicate with instruments. And let's face it, these arms, especially the Bionics, they're nothing more than an instrument.
Well, clearly, that's right. So, by the way, in your opinion, why isn't MIDI the generally used protocol for example, bionic arms of things? It does seem to be much more human oriented than the usual servo and robotics platforms.
I would say that's because most engineers are not musicians.
Okay, simple answer.
I think that's just true.
I think,
And
you're right.
it's not an either or. You can do both
Sure.
with say a standard Arduino. You can do both. You can have a MIDI output and an on-off switch. As a matter of fact, a lot of the synthesizers use what's called voltage control oscillators, VCOs. VCOs, that's how they work. Nobody likes them because they're not reliable. And they go too far sometimes. The voltage will burst and you'll go from 3 to 5 volts, then it calms down like any other thing you turn on. See, MIDI doesn't allow that. MIDI says, no, you'll do what I tell you, and then you will report back that you've done that, right? So you have a protocol all the time. You have a communication. It's just more intelligent and it's free. You don't pay for MIDI, it's open source.
I'm going to give Jeremy a chance to.
And I'm sorry I talk your ear off, guys. I apologize.
That's why you're here.
If I start asking questions, I'm going to keep us here all day because I'm big into music too, Rick. You and I are going to have to talk sometime. I think it's brilliant what you're doing, and I'm sure you're already doing a lot of this and thinking a lot of this, but it occurs to me. I think of some of the smart instruments that are coming out today. You can get a smart guitar, so you can play guitar, but it comes out as a piano. You can do the reverse. You can play a keyboard, but it comes out sounding like a guitar. You can play any instrument, make it sound like any instrument, thanks to MIDI and other similar techs. And I love that you're taking that a step forward and adapting it to somebody's anatomy and saying, what muscle groups are available? Great, we'll use those, and you can play whatever instrument you want. I think that is brilliant, really wonderful, because obviously lots of people have done oh, let's make an interface to let somebody hold a pick or hold a trombone or something, but this is
But they can't feel the pick,
exactly. And this is the first I've heard of and especially the Mayo approach of using the muscle signals. I think that's brilliant. I love the idea. I don't know if you have any videos of somebody. You mentioned like kind of using the Mayo electric to control sort of a theremin type instrument. I would love to see that, because that sounds.
Do you mind if I grab something here for you, Jeremy?
Yeah, go for it.
I apologize that I was not very prepared. We had just talked to Ben. I wanted to show you this, Jeremy, because you've obviously dealt with it. This was our latest one we built. And as you can see,
let's turn off your screen share if you're done with that, so we can see that bigger, if you don't mind.
How do I do that? Let's
just
see.
stop sharing.
Stop sharing?
Yeah.
All right, my apologies.
No problem.
So as you can see, you have, speaking from what you just said, you have your standard interfaces you could use on Adrenos or Raspberries, right? Well, you probably recognize these guys. They're for distance, right?
Yep.
And so there's one on each set of it on each side.
Sure.
So here we bought all the controls. This is basically a theremin that will respond to your hands, and it will output MIDI to any device that is MIDI compliant.
That's great.
So all you have to do is be MIDI compliant, and this can play that instrument without ever being touched. And it can do it up to 8 feet away.
That is very cool.
And they love it because they come into our lab, and we have had some crazy things too. Like we had a young lady come in, and she was 8 months pregnant and blind. And she was absolutely sobbing. She said, I can't see my sonograms. I can't see my baby. I never thought of that. So we 3D printed her baby from the sonograms, and we made her a necklace with the baby's face so she could do this, feel her baby's. And we built her a lithiopane. I think I even have it. And we built her a lithiopane of her baby. Now she can feel it. She knows what he looked like. And so it isn't always, it's got to be something that does anything. Sometimes it's a feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care. That's all right with me. If an arm makes them feel good, great. If a picture makes them feel good, great. If music makes them feel good, great. So we don't really care. When they come,
I mean, it's a whole new dimension. That's why I love it so much, because we've always been focused on, functionality, what can a person, do with this? But now you're into a realm of, letting somebody create, be creative and express themselves. And I think that's wonderful.
Well, because of your background, Jeremy, if you don't mind, I have a lot of friends that send me sometimes some great ideas. And I've got a couple papers I will send you if you would like, that have how you do MIDI on a Raspberry, or how do you do MIDI on a Adreno. I really like the micro bits, and the reason is they're so cheap. But they've got a compass, they've got an altimeter, they've got all this stuff on a $12 chip that I can run all day on a 2 AA batteries.
Nice.
I mean, really? And nobody wants to hear about that. I can even upload the new code loads via Bluetooth. I don't even have to physically touch it. Like with Marcus's last arm, I just have to be within 15 feet. I can upload the new code load for him. And it works.
Cool.
Now, Rick, how do you, is this just you tinkering, or do you have an army of elves?
No, it's me, but I have good friends. And I have people who come to me and want to help. We won't take money. We're always given or offered money. We have always refused that. We don't take money. We've never taken a dime. We even pay for shipping. And it's not like we don't have a budget. It's just when my wife and I have a little extra money, we do the best we can. And that's why all these instruments look like crap. Because they're made out of
Up
junk.
to me. I think
You know,
they're
they look
great.
like they're junk. So we build what we can when we can. And no, it's just me. The wife manages to keep people off my back. She helps them with shipping. She's really good with the kids. She's great at talking to people. So for the most part, it's just me experimenting with things that are stupid.
So, Rick, I know that you're not in it for the money, you're not in it for the publicity, but this is a great story. Has anyone told your story?
We've been asked to. We just don't want to. We've had trouble. We've had a lot of people come for us. So we
Meaning
keep
what?
our head low.
Do you mind telling me what you mean when you say people have come for you?
Well, as you can imagine, some of the larger folks that do prosthetics are not that pleased with us. We actually got an invite from the Hanger Group to go down and talk to them. I didn't really want to, but I figured I should. And we went down and they were like, wow, you know, but at the same time, you know, there was nothing I had for them. What am I going to do with them? Right. I just did it because they asked me nice. So I did. We've had issues though. We've been picketed. We've been, people have messed with us. And so we keep our heads low.
We can erase anything you want erased, but who the hell is picketing you over what issue?
Yeah, right.
I can give you an example, but I don't want you to get mad at me. We had the LGBT community mad at us because they asked me how many LGBT kids I've fitted. And my answer was, I don't know. I don't ask them that. I have no idea.
Of course.
I've never asked a child such a thing. And they were mad. They were really pissed. And they're, you know, now because I couldn't produce an LGBT kid, they were furious. And I'm like, okay, look, you know, I'm just going to keep my head low here. And I don't have any trouble finding work because it's usually surgeons. The dog thing you guys already know about. Surgeons called us. I didn't find this dog, he did.
Look, Rick, it's not about us wanting to turn you into an, you know, international, you know,
superstar
or anything, but your work should be shared. I mean, there are so many people that I know would love to be both on the receiving side and on the making side of the stuff you've shown us.
And we're happy to do that.
So maybe we should just talk about, you know, at a later time as follow-ups, you know, and again, Ben, as John mentioned, will probably be interested in helping us put a story together, but we can also talk about helping to get some of these things into our device catalog, along with, you know, some instructions, you know, the downloadable files. You know, let's help others who might want to play with this either for themselves or others and get it shared if you're open to that.
Oh, no, we have no problem sharing anything we have with anybody. We already kind of do that with the parents. Actually, Marcus's new feet, I think I sent you guys that, but I'm not sure you got it. His new feet, she actually designed. The reason we had to build him new feet was he wanted to go horseback riding and they wouldn't let him. They told him for insurance reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So we built him feet. Now
So
he's
they
going
can have
horseback
something
riding.
in the stirrups, yeah.
Yeah, now he's fine. And that was not my design. She did a beautiful job. But you know who really does a great job of this is the amputees, because they know what they want, right? All you gotta do is listen, you know, and they come up with the best ideas ever. We belong to all the local amputee groups. We go to their meetings, we sit with them, we have dinner and lunch with them, During the pandemic, we made them all masks. They call me meat sticks. That's my name because I have legs. But we're always invited and we go and we listen. We listen to anything they say.
I'm sure that's a good part of your secret sauce.
Absolutely.
Ben, so listen, it's after 2.
Oh, sorry.
Ben, for your benefit, Rick Williams, superhero, lived up to his reputation. His storytelling is quite circuitous, but I think by the time you view the whole video, you'll get quite a saga, which is worth figuring out how to write up at some point in your leisure. And I think you're really onto a lot of different things here, Rick. And we should figure out what we can do to spread it around. I'm very proud of the fact that e-NABLE has been a useful part of your menagerie, but your menagerie goes way beyond anything we've done.
Well, I wouldn't have known what to do when it happened, honestly. I had no idea. And so the whole e-NABLE thing to me was very personal. I mean, I was just done. So I get it. You know, I get it. The animal thing to me is huge too. And I'm really glad that you all are interested in that. As a matter of fact, one of the guys I want to ping down there, you know, I feel like I'm at the, you know, I got you guys in the 4 quad here, but I want to talk to Jeremy someday because you slipped one day and told me you know thermoforming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
And we're thermoforming dog legs right now, and I would love to have your feedback.
Of course. Yeah, so we ought to have a follow-up chat because I'd like to talk more about this stuff too. You know, Rick, I actually, the other area of my volunteer activities outside of e-NABLE is that I serve on a board for supporting the local music community here, essentially. And so this was really interesting. This is the first time that my 2 worlds have kind of come together, and I might share this with that group as well. There's some that would be interested in what you're doing.
Well, see, there you go. You get it, right? And if you have somebody that we had this old guy 20 years ago, he was a concert pianist, lost the use of his hands. I don't have to tell you the dedication it would take to become a concert pianist.
Oh yeah.
I have a video on my site, this man playing the piano with his new hands sobbing. Grown men cry when they see this. It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I know the instruments don't sound like, it's just, oh yeah, that's great and all.
I think that's great.
It's not going to help him pick up a glass. Well, yeah, you know what though?
He doesn't need help picking up the glass. He needs help playing the piano.
Yep.
Check out, if you're not familiar with him, Rick, check out C6 Steve on YouTube. He's one of my favorite artists, and he makes all these crazy cigar box kind of guitars. And, you know, some of them have 1 or 2 strings, and he plays the greatest music. You'd love him.
Is he the one that makes the paddle?
I don't remember for sure, but check him out. You'll see.
I will. Yeah, we go to the guitar festivals, the cigar box festivals. We just went to one in Sarasota, and they actually featured that one I showed you guys.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
it was like, how did you do that? Yeah, we built a 100-watt amp that is like this big, and they took it up on stage, and they had these big carving amps, and this thing just smoked them. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun.
Fun stuff. Well, keep
but
up
you know,
the good work.
I think if anything, I just love to listen to them, to the amputees, and let them tell me what they want. And they'll do it. It's just not easy because they don't really think you want to hear it at first until they get to know you.
Really important. Rick, where are you located?
St. Petersburg, Florida.
St. Petersburg, Florida. All right. I'm looking for an excuse to go to Florida now.
Hey, we got a big lab. We have a high-powered laser cutters. We have, when I left Hitachi, and I'm sorry, yet another story, because I'm always all over the place, but when I left Hitachi, I was a staff PhD. I worked on mainframes. I had a whole lab here. I had a plasma cutter table, everything I needed. And they decided it was cheaper to let me keep it than to ship it all back to Japan.
Interesting.
So I have a lab.
Nice.
So,
very interesting. Okay, to be continued. But for now, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Sorry I went over time a lot.
Thank you. Well
15
worth it,
minutes.
Rick.
Sorry, Ben. I know you
No
said
problem.
15
We started a few minutes late, so it's good to have you, and I'm looking forward to being able to dig into some stories that we can share.
Yeah,
You know, if we had a video, I think, frankly, well, this would make a great short or long documentary. I think the story and the visuals and the music are just a total natural. I don't
I
know
can
the
send you
person.
guys, if you
I'll
give me
tell
a
you
place,
what,
I'll
maybe-
upload all this to you.
Maybe I can help out here. If you're up for it, Rick, I actually am seeking guests for my business, 3D Universe. We have a podcast series, a video podcast called 3D Universe Untethered. And I'm actually trying to line up our next guests. And the way we record those, we're actually using a different platform called Riverside instead of Zoom that lets us record in much higher quality. And I'd be able to, I think, get a similar interview to what you did today, looking at some of the same videos and some of the same things, but record something a bit higher quality and share that both with e-NABLE as well as my customers, if you're up for it.
The only thing I'm concerned about is that, like, some of the videos, I don't own them. Like that one that I showed in the beginning.
Yep.
I really wished I knew who did that.
Well, let's,
It
okay,
was
so
not
those
me.
are, we'll have to look into that before we
Yeah.
do this, but that would be worth hunting down. It was a great
That is
video.
such an awesome video. It really is.
Yeah, we should
Um,
definitely find who that is, see what, if they're okay with us sharing it.
Yeah,
get it-
I found it on YouTube.
Oh, you
And-
did?
Share the link in the chat.
We know who it's, we can track to,
It's
who it is.
Paralympics from 2016 when they were in Rio.
and it's
Okay.
licensed to YouTube. And they show who owns the rights. But, you know, we've gotten, the
Well,
Enable
it's- I
Fund
mean-
was inaugurated with a 50K gift from YouTube, so.
It's on YouTube. If it's on YouTube as a public video, then I see no reason we can't. share
Yeah,
it.
mine was, I have the copy. I didn't know it was even on YouTube.
So yet another problem we can transcend.
Yeah, so Rick, whenever time is good, let's schedule something and it'll be just kind of a remote interview and we can capture it in a bit higher quality and then share that with anyone interested.
Happy to help if I can.
Great.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Especially
guys.
Rick.
Thank you, Ben, for inviting me.
Bye all.
No problem. Thanks for joining. See you guys.